I'm Stephen Crippen. I'm the rector of St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Seattle. And I know that St. Paul's enjoys a reputation in our diocese, in our region, as an Anglo-Catholic congregation, even though sometimes people don't know what that means. And for me, it means more than just the fact that we use incense, that we call the Holy Eucharist a Mass, that we have a really good choir, that we have liturgies that are soaring and solemn and beautiful. It means more than that to me. To be an Anglo-Catholic congregation means that you are grounded in the historical legacy of the Oxford movement in the early 1800s in England, where they made a connection between beautiful worship and engagement in mission. And so for us to be a really good Anglo-Catholic parish, we have to have a mission. That's why when I was discerning with St. Paul's leadership whether I was the rector they wanted, I didn't talk about the liturgy at all. I consciously only talked about mission. And I made that clear to them. I said, I want to talk about our mission. I want to serve and lead a congregation that is focused on its mission. And our mission is this neighborhood of Uptown Seattle. A lot of our members will come here from other neighborhoods, and so they'll take some of God's grace with them back into their own contexts, into their own neighborhoods. But all of us are sort of arm in arm in this neighborhood as missioners, as people drawing alongside our neighbors. And our neighbors are diverse here in Uptown Seattle, diverse economically for sure. So we're working with wealthy theater and arts goers. We're working with local businesses and organizations like Nielsen's Bakery and Metropolitan Market and Mercer Street Books. We're building relationship with this neighborhood as we find it. And we also are building relationship with neighbors who have uncertain housing or no housing. And that has proven to be a project that took a few years to develop. About 10 years ago, St. Paul's was deep in the mission of intergenerational ministry, and that's another area of focus for us. But what we've done in the intervening 10 years is really develop competency and consciousness about working alongside our neighbors who are in extreme need. And this happened, coincidentally enough, with the explosion of the housing crisis in Seattle and the challenge that that crisis posed to so many people, particularly those who were on the edge financially. And so during the pandemic years, St. Paul's saw a lot of disruption in the neighborhood, a lot more campers, a lot more harassment of campers, a lot more difficulty. And so our response to that was tentative at first. It wasn't easy right away to figure out how to do this. How do we stay here in this city? We have a legacy that's about 60 years old now from Father John Lockerbie and the lay leadership of that time. In the late 50s and early 60s, the congregation decided to stay here at 15 Roy Street rather than to relocate up the hill in a more neighborhood setting. And the purpose of that was, as Father John said quite often, we are to stay in the city where God will tell us what we must do. We should consciously stay here in the mix and the muck of the city. But it took a little while for us to figure out how to do this kind of work with our neighbors who struggle on the issue of housing. But we finally started to make our way. And in the late pandemic years, we developed SPIN, which is an acronym for St. Paul's in the Neighborhood. SPIN is a ministry of wagons. We fill wagons with food, with snacks, with protein bars. We fill wagons with blankets and sleeping bags and snack packs and water and razors and toothpaste and toothbrushes and all the things that folks need. And we go around the neighborhood and we don't just hand out supplies to people and food. We develop friendships, we develop relationships. One of the things that's come from this is we've actually helped people secure housing when they have wanted our help and when they have worked with us. But more deeply than that, we have developed friendships and relationships. And so some of our spin walkers have powerful co-ministry relationships with folks who live on the sidewalks around Uptown Seattle and around St. Paul's. Meanwhile, we set up the little free pantry and we stock it every day of the year. And the little free pantry offers canned goods and other durables to people who need them. And it is typically cleared out almost every day. The other thing that we've noticed, though, is that our other neighbors are starting to stock it when we're not looking. And so we'll go out there to stock the little free pantry and find that it's already full of cans and different things and boxes of mac and cheese and all the things people need.
One of our parishioners, Prue, puts these packages together, which are really nice. If someone's asleep, not awake on the sidewalk, we just tuck this in next to them and they can wake up to some protein and caffeine and candy and carbs. And so it's a wonderful thing that Prue does regularly for us. I started coming here about 2.5 years ago, and then Adam shortly after that. It just sounded like something I would love to do. I used to be pretty connected to youth, like homeless youth ministry in Seattle, and so I was comfortable with the idea, but it had been a long time since I'd done anything like that, and I was just impressed with St. Paul's being so present there. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, he did it, so I decided to do it. It's pretty fun to just kind of walk around and give food to people. I go probably, every other week or so. I don't go every week, but when I do, I see a lot of people and they're like really happy just knowing that like someone cares about them and someone's like giving them something they want, like, I don't know, someone needs a new pair of socks or a new pair of underwear.
I love the city and all of its squalor and glory, and it being connected to it in a way that's really meaningful matters to me a lot. And I do, like Adam, just letting people know that there's this whole, not just me personally as I'm distributing some food or underwear, but there's this community, this parish, the church, as a lot of people refer to it, that cares about them and where they're at. And that often gets a chance to help people transition off of the streets as well. The men's shelter down the street, there's some people we get to talk to regularly, have amazing stories, sometimes from all over the world. We're just trying to get settled in Seattle and make things happen for themselves. Yeah. Every story is different. Seattle is a very expensive place to live and to get established. And there's a puzzle you have to put together between housing, work, healthcare, mental health services if you need them. And it's very hard to get all those things to work together in this city. And so this is one part of helping stabilize people, give them both some things that they need day to day, but also some hope for what could come together for them.
I really like giving people who don't have a home or don't have as much stuff, things to help them. Some of them are nice, some of them don't talk much, but I really enjoy them being happy when we go around to the shelter, and it makes me feel really happy, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something important. My mom told me that I could help walk around the neighborhood and giving homeless people things, and I thought that was awesome.
When I first started coming to St. Paul's, I started getting to know people and attending coffee hour, and I think at some point someone asked if I'd like to join Spin, and it seemed like the most natural thing in the world. If we're here in this neighborhood, I wanted to be meeting people who also lived here and doing something practical and tangible. For me, when I first started, it was really a way to tangibly and practically put my body and heart in this neighborhood. And it's a very small thing to say hello to someone and to offer a snack or a bowl of soup. It is not solving a crisis. It is not offering deep solutions to someone's life, but it's a way to be present. And I think for me, it was an opportunity to walk and to breathe and to learn people's names and to be able to say, yes, of course you can have an extra water bottle. Of course I will chat with you for a moment. Of course we have socks in a different color. And I think in this city where we live, it's so hard to say yes freely and wonder what will happen if I say yes. And Spin has been that place for me. There's so many people who are just figuring out what their next steps are. People who have gotten to know each other and are supporting each other in this neighborhood. People who have been here for so much longer than me and are very careful of each other and of me as a person coming alongside in these brief moments of spin walking. There's a shelter pretty close by St. Paul's, and so that's always somewhere that we stop, and you see new faces and old faces, and it's fun to get requests and then be able to go back and ask the community at St. Paul's, like, hey, there's showers here, but no one has flip-flops. Can we get flip-flops there? And we do. And then it's sort of building this relationship slowly but surely, where we can continue to say yes with small supplies and relationships and conversations. Spin has been coming around this neighborhood for longer than I have, and so I think I've seen its legacy as it shapes this community. It's become a thing that we do, and I think St. Paul's very quickly falls into just the things that we do, and I love that this is one of them. I think it's such a beautiful thing when people can participate in all levels, whether that's bringing supplies in that spin walkers can take around the neighborhood, or just saying hi to someone in the wagon, or when you're around in the neighborhood, you know people's names. You're able to have a conversation with someone outside of just a Sunday morning service. It really pulls down some of the invisible barriers that we have between ourselves and our neighbors. Someone's having a hard day and yelling about something that you don't understand, it's very easy to want to walk away or want to look away. And I think when you are putting yourself in a place where you're all just walking the neighborhood together, you start to recognize the privilege it is to be able to sit next to someone and not know the answers and not have solutions, but to not turn away and to not hide.
Nielsen's Bakery came to us a little while ago and said that they've been doing some work in their lobby. When people come in, they'll give folks little cards that they can use to get pastries on a fairly regular basis. And is there any way that we could work together? And so we've developed a relationship with that bakery to have some spin supplies and food in their lobby. And that's just one more facet of what we're doing around this neighborhood. And again, the point is not to feed and clothe our neighbor, though that is something that the Gospels, particularly Matthew, tell us to do. But the goal is to be alongside them, to actually be in a friendship with a neighbor. Because we believe here at St. Paul's that Jesus did not feed the hungry, he ate with them. And that's a key difference. And so as we stay in the city, I think the biggest learning or teaching that we can offer you is to give it time. Give yourself time to discern your mission. Think about your congregation and pray about your congregation as a missional place, a place that has a thing that they need to do that's really clear. One thing that I've noticed in the recovery community, I'm a member of the recovery community, is that in AA meetings, they never worry about newcomers. They never worry about growth. They never worry about why they're there or whether they should be there, because their mission is always crystal clear. And at St. Paul's, we're finding that again. Something that's been talked about here at St. Paul's that maybe gets talked about too much because sometimes people get tired of hearing it, is that in the 80s and 90s, we had a different mission. Our mission then was to minister to people living with HIV and AIDS and dying of problems and complications related to AIDS. We became the parish that took in all kinds of people who had been put out of their congregations because they were gay or because they had this very terrifying disease. And that mission really cost us a lot. It was well worth it, and it gave us a reason for being. But we still carry some grief from those years because we held a lot of grief. And so we continue to hold it. And this mission now, with our neighbors, is similar in some of these ways. When you work alongside people who are in extreme need, you come face to face with human suffering, with human pain, and it brings up pain in yourself. And that can be part of what you share with your new friends, is just empathy, basic empathy for the pain that they are experiencing. And from that empathy comes allegiance. And so when God says to St. Paul, stay in the city where you will be told what you must do, it's more than just booking a room or hanging out in an urban area. To stay in the city is to enter into lengthy, long-term discernment together. And that's what we're doing at St. Paul's.